Live from the Moscone Convention Center in San Francisco, California, it's theCUBE at Oracle OpenWorld 2014. Brought to you by headline sponsor Cisco Systems, with support from NetApp. And now, here are your hosts, John Furrier and Jeff Frick.
Okay, welcome back everyone. We are here live in San Francisco at Oracle OpenWorld. This is theCUBE, our flagship program. We go out to the events, extract the signal from the noise. I'm John Furrier, the co-founder of SiliconANGLE. I'm joined Jeff Frick, our general manager of our CUBE in Silicon Valley. Our next guest is Joann Starke, marketing manager at Cisco for UCS. Welcome to theCUBE.
Well, thank you.
So, a busy day today, a lot of things going on, UCS business cranking away. Everything good?
Everything's good.
Okay, great to have you on. So we've had a great bunch of chats. We've talked with some tech geeks, architects, engineering managers. We even talked with Jim. We talk about, get the whole lowdown on UCS. So we want to get the real deal with you. So tell us the real story. Okay, how's it working? Okay, talk about what it is, the positioning, and why it's working. Because the customer feedback we've heard here on theCUBE this morning and yesterday was a lot of praise from customers. A lot of people are very happy with the product. So what is it? What is UCS?
Well, it's actually, we're talking about UCS Director. And so what UCS Director is a centralized management point for all of your infrastructure. If you look at what business is struggling with today, it's, customers are very used to, from all their smart devices, to get everything instantaneously. Well, let's translate that to the business world. That means when I come to IT and I say, I need a new instance because I'm got a brand new project, and they say, I'll see you in 4 to 6 weeks, you go, I don't think so. So, exactly, 1-800-Amazon. Well, that's not good for reasons that we're not going to cover here, but shadow IT and things like that. So what IT needs to be is much more agile and flexible. It needs to be able to better respond to the needs of business. You do that by starting at the infrastructure level and automating that, so you can stand up complete infrastructure instances as if it's a single unit across compute, network, storage, and virtualization. You let them be able to do that within minutes instead of weeks. You do that from a single pane of glass. And so what that allows customers to do, IT to do, is respond to the urgent needs of their customers by spinning up a new instance of whatever their infrastructure is.
So one of the things we talk about a lot, whether it's a cloud show, DevOps show, or networking show, is the management piece seems to be the piece everyone wants to focus on, because that impacts the workers and the daily, day-to-day operations. Non-disruptive operations, all these buzzwords. But the bottom line is that the optimization of the management is usually around a unit. The server, the box, this. So what's the management unit of the UCS Director? Is it the system? Is it a specific thing? Can you share the key focus of what you guys optimize on with UCS Director?
So when you're talking about automation, you don't want to just focus in on one thing. And there's a number of people on this floor where they'll focus just on virtual, they'll focus just on compute. What we do is we focus on virtual and physical across all 4 of those layers, because all 4 of those layers today are managed manually, and that's part of the problem. You want to get away from those manual trouble tickets that take weeks in order to stand things up. When you have UCS Director, I have a solution that spans all of that, all of those layers. I'm not just focusing in on device managers. Think of it as a manager of device managers, if you want to think about it that way.
And does it remove those other managers? So are you going from 4 to 1, or it just...
Well, from the IT perspective, you are, yes.
Okay.
But you're not removing them, because obviously UCS Director talks to UCS Manager. UCS Director talks to Nexus. It talks to whatever the storage is in the device. It talks to whatever your hypervisor is. But it does it from a single management control point, which means, IT is much more in control. They know exactly what's happening. They know about utilization. They know about consumption real time, rather than waiting for something to affect the business, having to issue a trouble ticket and have weeks for it to be able to do it. It can do model-based orchestration, which is key. A number of the vendors on here all use script-based. Well, scripts are static. I don't know a single data center in my 18 plus years in data center that are static. Data centers are dynamic places. So what you want is have orchestration that can adjust. Let's say, for example, I have a workflow and I come up to a switch and the switch is not available. Well, a script is going to stop. It's dead in the water, which means now you have manual override processes, you have bottlenecks, IT is now slow. Whereas UCS Director goes out and does a physical and logical discovery across your infrastructure. It stores that information. It goes out and does that discovery every 15 minutes. Yes, that is configurable. And it knows if that switch isn't available and now we've got that workflow situation again, it's going to know, I have another path. I have another way to keep this workflow moving. So what's the business outcome? My IT is fast, which means my business is responding because my workflows are moving forward and IT is able to keep moving forward. Does that make sense?
So those are the holy grail benefits people want to get there. So I got to ask you some of the kind of pointed questions is on the infrastructure side, not everyone will have Cisco. They might have also other solutions like vBlock, with the FlexPod, other infrastructure stuff going on. So does that discovery include that?
Perfect. We have the name UCS Director. Yes, we are Cisco. But in order to get the efficiencies in this data center, if you just manage UCS and just manage Cisco, you haven't done anything. You're not helping the customers, you're hurting them. So we are a multi-vendor solution, and yes, some of the solutions we support, you will see competitors' logos on there, like Brocade, you will see HP, you will see IBM, you will see Dell. But that is the only way that IT can be able to now get these efficiencies because it's a heterogeneous data center. It's not homogeneous, so you have to manage it that way.
So you do a lot of discovery, you got some automation going on, so you abstract away some of those complexities. Now the next level of abstraction is, can you create an enabling platform from a management standpoint to serve the needs of the app developers? Because now we have the DevOps, whole cloud thing, mobile infrastructure. So now the challenge goes, okay, networking guys, get faster, smarter. I got apps coming in, the Facebook effect, the Google effect, the mobile effect. A lot of developers coming in-house where they want to accelerate development. They don't want to have to wait for stuff to be stood up. I got needs. I have needs. I'm an app developer. How do you guys respond to that? Is there a piece of it there? How does that fit in?
So UCS Director is your foundation. You need to start with your automation at your infrastructure level. There are other solutions within Cisco, such as Prime Service Catalog, which gives you a modern Amazon-like self-service portal, tailored to whatever user you're using, giving you governance and compliance and pricing. And on top of that, there's something that we will be introducing at Cisco Live in Milan that gives you a dynamic application palette that allows that software developer to real-time configure not only their infrastructure by discovering containers that UCS Director creates with APIC, but now I would need to be able to provision that software into those containers, save it, and it can be ordered from a self-service portal.
So let's double click on that container thing. So obviously containers are hot. Application-aware containers. Talk about what that means and how does that relate to Director?
So at UCS Direct, once again, is the centralized control point. Yep. So it works with APIC, ACI, as well as a product that is introducing at the end of this month. It's got the name VAX, or Virtual Application Container Services. So whether you're on the Nexus 1000V, or whether you're using 9,000 switches with ACI, those particular technologies allow you to create the network containers. They therefore integrate directly into UCS Director, so they see them, they add the compute, the storage, and the virtualization, so now I have a complete application-aware infrastructure container. That on its own is great, but it's not the complete story, as you mentioned. Yeah. So with Prime Service Catalog and Stack Designer, I can now put applications into those containers that allows the company to order, let's say, Oracle Small to a t-shirt size and receive it within 60 minutes.
Joann, save some of the story so we can go cover it in Milan, John. We don't want her to give us the whole story.
Kill me with that problem. Go to Milan, okay, do some more interviews, okay. Okay, so paint the picture for us with the customer. Now, we walk into a customer, pretend we got a clean sheet of paper, and they say, okay, I'm re-platforming and I'm refreshing at the same time. So, Joann, go to town. How would you structure that? What's the customer environment look like? I got developers, is it all going to be part of Cisco? How would you roll that out if you were going to go and talk to a customer? What are some of the use cases, I guess? I guess what I'm trying to get at.
Well, UCS Director, the use cases for IT ops and IT operations, allowing them to be able to become flexible and agile. When you start moving up the stack, yes, then you do move over to the application developers, because a number of companies are trying to figure out, how do I move from that old IT to that new IT? But they can't do it in one big giant leap. So they're doing it in stepping stones. So Cisco is providing those stepping stones, allowing them to take the journey, their journey, rather than somebody telling them, this is the whole journey, here's one giant cloud suite, now you can do it all.
Okay, so I'm a CIO, okay, Joann, you sold me on this. So my IT guy's a little bit restless, a little bit, holding on to the old ways. We're going to move them, let a fire under their butt. But we want to also go to the cloud. We got the on-prem, but we're going to move to the cloud. Does this help me do that?
Yes, it does. And I'll tell you more at Milan.
Okay, come on, get the data out there. Now we know they're going to pick at that scab all day long here. Okay, so orchestration. So this has been a big issue. Automation has been first. Orchestration seems to come kind of after you automate. You got automation, then you got orchestration. What's the difference between those two kind of global features around some of the platform issues? Are they the same? Are they different? Is automation the same as orchestration?
They usually work in tandem.
How would you describe that to an IT person?
So automation is going out there. The first key is you have to know what your processes are. And a lot of companies don't, but you need to know what they are, and you need to make sure they're good processes, because there's nothing automation will do better than duplicate bad processes very quickly. So you need to make sure you know what they are. And then all orchestration does is, take that model of whatever it is you have defined in your automation workflow, and it delivers it. That's essentially what it does. So these two work in tandem. You usually define whatever that model is, whether it's an application or whether it's a FlexPod instance or a vBlock instance, and then orchestration goes out and delivers it. Does that make sense?
It totally does, yeah.
Okay.
We love orchestration. It's a hard problem. A lot of people are working on it, certainly in the cloud level and on the bare metal. So back to the bare metal app thing. So on-premise is a lot of action. Hybrid cloud is coming. What are some of the use cases from your customers that you can share with us where a director has been really successful and some best practices and some shared experiences? What can you share?
Well, that's the nice thing about infrastructure automation. It spans pretty much everybody, because everybody's in this same boat. How do I become a lot more flexible and agile? We have seen in the energy utility business, we have seen folks in retail, we have seen folks in financial and insurance and healthcare. So we have a number of success stories across a broad range of customer use cases and how they want to use this.
Any order of magnitude savings of time and steps that you can share in terms of anecdotal data points?
Actually, we have a project where we're trying to rationalize that right now. What we see customers say, I'm going from 6 weeks to 15 minutes to deploy. But some customers are going, well, what does that mean? So what we're actually doing right now is some research and some analytics to make this a little more quantitative, to be able to say, you can see X amount of cost savings over time.
And there's different use cases too that have different circumstances, probably, I'd imagine.
Yes, yes, it does. It does.
It talk a little bit about kind of legacy applications that are sitting on legacy infrastructure versus fresh start. People are building stuff from the ground up. How is the migration going of the old stuff that's in the old systems? Is there a lot of that migration, or is it still most of the traction around kind of new apps and things that are built for this infrastructure natively?
I say right now it's sort of legacy, about 25%, the rest is new applications. And the reason being is there's a whole lot of legacy applications that were never designed to be virtualized. And so customers are struggling. How do I get, for example, Unix? How do I get that into the new IT world? And so that is more a customer decision as to at what point, what am I going to do with this, or am I going to move it to bare metal? What am I going to do with this? And that's the part of this solution where you need to sit down with a customer and understand what's your strategy, what do you want to do, what is your goals in the first place? I mean, there are a lot of customers that come in and say, well, I don't care about this Unix stuff. It's always going to be in its own little silo. That's fine. But these applications forward are going to be, in an automated environment. And that's what the customer needs to work out.
We've seen a lot of the automation orchestration really pick up well with partners, integrators in particular, where you have a channel partner serving customers where they can bolt on some added value services on top of these services, because you've got some simplicity going on, you've got some agility, you got some reduction of steps. That's always good for margin, right? And if you manage it, say managed services, it's good margin, right? You put the word, Ray was talking about the word managed around it, it's managed services. So talk about the partner opportunity, what some successes you've had with partners. Are they liking it? What's the feedback?
The answer is yes, the partners are liking it a lot. Now, one of the things when you get into automation, what a lot of people think is it's sort of automation out of the box. And the reason you can't be 100% out of the box is because not every company does business the same way. So it's not like a piece of hardware where you take it out of the box and put it in. And so where the partners come in is when somebody says, well, I want to have infrastructure automation and I want to connect to Remedy or I want to connect to some other application. That's where the partners come in and add some value. They can help do that customization and allowing UCS Director to go out and reach out to those other applications that the customer needs.
What's the advances? Take us through the provisioning progression. Even go back 5 years, even 10 years. You've had all kinds of provisioning challenges to stand up bare metal, in particular manual data center you mentioned, to automate it, right? That's now a journey that is actually taking place and have taken place for many. What's happened in that progression? And talk about this term self-provisioning. I've heard this term kicked around. What does that mean, self-provisioning? Like things happen by themselves or certain things are automated? So the progression from old way of provisioning to automated, and what does self-provisioning mean?
So the old way is I called up IT and said, I need X, Y, and Z, and they said, talk to you in 6 weeks. That's the old way. Self-provisioning means, let's talk about who's made this word a buzzword, and that's Amazon. What can you not order from Amazon? I can't think of a thing, and they sell so many things. But what's made them so important is you can do it from the same portal. You go in, you log on to Amazon, you can order books or toys or electronics or whatever you want, and you do it from the same purchase order, so to speak. That's exactly what we're talking about here with self-service provisioning, is I go in through a modern self-service portal, I have the ability to order application platforms or infrastructure platforms, or I have the ability to go out and order, if we're talking higher level use cases like cloud. We have customers that have put HR in the cloud, office supplies in the cloud. Cisco itself is everything as an employee is self-service. It's run on Cisco's private cloud solution. So literally when I got a brand new smartphone, I went online, said, I need to register this device, and I admitted my first thought was, oh, this is going to be a long process. No, in 6 pages, in 6 child pages. Could
have been 60.
No, it was more in 6 different pages. The phone was registered with IT. I needed to sync up with a Microsoft server. It went through the billing process, the whole 9 yards within 2 hours. Literally, by the way, the syncing with the Exchange server was the longest. But in 2 hours, I had a Galaxy 5 that was completely linked into Cisco IT, and I was productive. But I did that myself. I went in and said, I want to register this phone, and it guides you through the process to do that.
So the self-service notion is what you were talking about earlier with the catalog idea, where
yes,
you can just push buttons, move things around, almost like, kind of like Minority Report, move stuff around, and then magic happens under the covers. That's
the magic that happens is through orchestration. It's the orchestrator, and you want to make sure you have a very robust engine because it has to handle diverse workloads like that. So the magic happens in that orchestration layer.
So talk about the evolution of the service profiling. How does that fit into all this? The service profile of the UCS has been a big differentiator. Does that tie into Director? Is that part of it? Can you explain that, how that works?
So think about it, you can set up a service profile and then publish it, and then Director can make it available to anybody else globally if they want to use the same profile and be able to apply it.
So in theory, if you had the service profile for your phone, you wouldn't have had to go through all those steps. If they had defined it, you just plug it in and hit go.
It still needs to know the SIM card. It still needs to know what my employee number is, who my manager is, what the cost center is.
So can't quite get all the data in there.
Not quite that.
But close, we're getting closer.
I'm one of 100,000 employees,
yes.
So
So talk about the marketplace we're in now. Oracle, obviously Larry up there and endorsing the cloud. What's going on in the industry around Cisco? Obviously we've had NetApp on. Okay, we're very familiar with VCE, they might be coming on. These are not Cisco, they're Cisco partners, some joint development. That seems to be on the high end of the market. Do you see a lower end, mid-tier market on Director, or how do other partners get involved? Not channel partners, but our integrators, on the supply side, your industry partners. How does all that work with Director? Is it all joint development? Is there APIs? Is there code? How does that all work?
So we go out and we work with certain partners and we develop a connector for that partner, such as NetApp, such as VCE, and other partners. And then we also have an SDK available so that somebody like Joe Schmo Storage Company wants to come in and integrate into UCS Director, they download this SDK and it walks them through all of the steps that allows them to create that connector so that when the customer uses that connector, it's right into Director. It looks like completely developed by Cisco.
Awesome. Share with the folks out there with the last minute here, just kind of wrap this all together. Why is UCS Director relevant? What are customers saying about it? And what could we expect to hear leading up to Milan?
So one of the things that customers say about UCS Director the most, those that have used it, it sounds almost like Business 101, but they are absolutely in awe of the consistency. And if you think about it, if I'm standing up a FlexPod instance, it's stood up the same way every single time. What that means is, it's Friday at 4:30 and I fat-fingered an IP address because I wanted to go have a beer with my buddies and I was in a hurry. Those kind of errors are gone. So that consistency of standing things up, reducing human error, and we all know how much that equates to the bottom line for most companies is trying to fix human error. The other thing they talk about is innovation. It's because today, in the old IT model, not only are resources siloed, but admins are siloed. It's not unusual for me in an EBC to hear the networking guys, kind of saying the server guys are, hardware jockeys, and the storage guys, well, they only talk LUN, so they're kind of weird. And that's because they're in these silos. What Director does is it brings everybody together, because when you're creating a workflow, you have to say, at what point does that VXLAN get connected to that blade? At what step does this happen? So they start talking to each other for the first time, and now they start saying things like, oh, there's got to be a better way of doing this, and they're coming up with innovative new things.
So talk about, obviously, with open source, open APIs, API economy, notification, all these things are kind of circling, orbiting around this new modern infrastructure, and certainly with app developers. How do you react to the security things? We had Bash, we had Shell Shock, and all these potential vulnerabilities happen overnight, where time is very critical. How does that fit into this, Director? Is that part of this, or how does someone manage the security potential issues? Because I know there's a lot of big data going on with some of the stuff within Cisco. Does that render itself here, or is that somewhere else?
That's somewhere else. Well, what we do, though, is provide secure multi-tenant environments so that when I am dividing up my tenants in my organization, if, let's just say HR, I need to make sure there's a wall around them. That secure multi-tenant environment is guaranteed so that no one can get in and access the information.
All right, Joann, well, we really appreciate you coming on. I'll give you the final word. Share with the folks out there what you're most personally excited about UCS Director, and some of the things you're working on.
I'm really excited. I think this is a key time in the industry where people are starting to understand automation. They're starting to take it into places it's never gone before, and the lights are starting to go on where they realize I don't have to do it in one big step. I can do it in smaller steps. And I think Cisco has some very exciting things that you'll be hearing about at the end of January. It's super exciting. IT is getting a lot of investment. There's a lot of good activity going on. A lot of people are building out, modernizing the infrastructure. We are here at theCUBE, at Oracle OpenWorld, inside the Cisco booth. This is theCUBE, I'm John Furrier with Jeff Frick. We'll be right back with our next guest after this short break.